wanted to do a public service announcement, a PSA about DeepSeek. I've heard some bad advice about not downloading DeepSeek R1. First, let's define what download means. So many people that are non-technical talk about downloading only in the terms of a app that works on a smartphone. Of course, sure, that is maybe one component of downloading, but there also is another component of downloading, which is using free and open solutions like Linux, for example. Many people today, including myself, use a free operating system that I downloaded from the internet. It was via a Linux ISO. Ubuntu is the version that I use. People use other operating systems like Kubuntu. There's tons of other variants of Linux as well, like Mint and Pop! OS. But the main takeaway here is that open solutions allow you to inspect everything that's on the operating system and also use it for free and even contribute. If you find some kind of a bug or you want to build a feature, you're allowed to contribute to it. So this is a superior form of an operating system. And if you look at solutions like Windows, for example, they're full of spyware that sends your data to Microsoft, or in the case of Apple, maybe it sends it to OpenAI via their Apple Intelligence. This is not a advanced solution. This is a subpar solution. So just wanted to clear that up about downloading. Now, let's get into what I would recommend in terms of downloading DeepSeek and why I would recommend immediately today you download DeepSeek is that you should download the model. So how could you download it? Probably one of the easier solutions to downloading it is through ollama.com. If you go to ollama.com/library/DeepSeek R1, they have solutions that are GUIs. They also have solutions that are command line utilities. But once you've got the command line utility installed, you literally type in ollama run DeepSeek -R1. That's it. And in fact, you can see what's happening on your machine. You can verify, like you could turn off your network and make sure that no data is being sent anywhere. You're able to run this local. So this is very similar to Linux in that it's a superior solution, and any consumer, unless potentially you're a billionaire who has an investment in OpenAI, you should want this because it allows us to build an open ecosystem, and people all around the world can contribute to it, make it better. For example, the more open the models are, the more we're going to see things like the ability to look inside of the data sets and verify that the training data is ethically sourced. What would be an example of ethically sourced data? It means that people have consented. So for example, if they consent to putting some data into a data set, maybe they've created it themselves. That I think is an ethically sourced data set. Or maybe somebody's contributing to Wikipedia and the terms of service for Wikipedia explicitly let people train on that data. That seems like that could be a good example of ethically sourced data sets. But we don't know when the system is a closed system, and we don't know where that data eventually will go to when it's a closed system. And we also don't know in the future whether my chat messages will be leaked. So when people talk about China versus USA, that's really a red herring, because in general, we want to be careful about using any closed system, any software system from any country. We should think more about the regulation around it. So the European Union has some of the best data privacy regulations in the world. And that's really the way to tackle it, isn't to kind of individually pick and choose and say, well, this company's Chinese and this one's American. In fact, really, we shouldn't care about that. We should care about what is the regulation around storing data in a cloud provider. We should make sure that data protection is something that's a human right, and that we have the ability to control what happens with our data. That's a much more important issue than China versus America. So if we look at DeepSeek, we hear some advice about people saying, oh, you better be careful, DeepSeek, it's from China. That, again, is a red herring. In fact, I would say very jingoistic, right? Just because something is from one region in the country or another, it doesn't make it good or bad. What is good or bad is actually whether it's open or not, and you're able to modify it. A good example would be the Windows operating system. If we look at the Windows operating system, really it's been predatory from the very beginning. And this is the behavior of Bill Gates when he created the Windows operating system. He intentionally tried to create a monopoly. He was sued by the United States government. I made a lot of money actually cleaning up the Windows operating system by removing viruses. And it's not been a great operating system. In fact, it's been a terrible operating system where it barely worked for years and years and years. And the current iteration in 2025 sends spyware, or basically it collects data from your machine and sends it back to Microsoft. This is not a user experience that is something most people want. In fact, your machine is in fact not yours anymore. It's actually belonging to a corporation. So if we think about open versus closed, that's really what we should be thinking about. And so you should want solutions like DeepSeek R1 to win. In fact, you should want even another model to win. That's really the point of open source, isn't that one solution or one region is superior to another. It's that we want to have open collaboration, and we also want venture capital and big tech to not be involved. They're a diminishing system of innovation versus an enhancer. The reason I say this is that if you look at a lot of the solutions from venture capital, for example, Uber, it increases traffic, increases prices, removes worker protections. If you look at Airbnb, right, it increases the prices in a region because all the houses are vacant. They have illegal hotels. Similarly, why would we want that same model to apply to machine learning? In fact, there's nothing really fancy about machine learning. It's basically X predicts Y. Why would we want some corporation to control math, right? It doesn't really make sense. So really the takeaway here is that do whatever you can to immediately start using DeepSeek. Download it via a tool like Ollama. Another tool that I would recommend would be something like Llamafile. There's also Rust has a open source solution called Hugging Face Candle that also could be a solution. But in general, try to dive into these open models, contribute to them, get involved in them, host them, evangelize them, and avoid any kind of a closed solution like a Copilot solution or a Microsoft solution or an OpenAI solution. There's a lot of information about how there have been data privacy issues, copyright issues, whistleblower issues. That's where really the smoke is. We don't have any evidence that open source software is leading to bad solutions. We have a lot of evidence that it leads to very good solutions. And a good example would be if closed solutions are superior, why is it that every single top 10 language is open source? Well, it's because they're not superior. Open source languages are a superior form of software engineering, and that's why people use them. Likewise, Linux is the predominant server operating system because it's open. So in a nutshell, don't listen to the misinformation, disinformation about AGI or these corporations are doing all these great things. If you really dive into the details about people who are saying things around we need to use OpenAI or closed solutions, many of them have properties in Hawaii or have colonized Hawaii or have huge land holdings somewhere. So you have to wonder, why is it that people who have exploited humanity for their own gain, taxed it with really terrible solutions, why are these the people that are telling you to not download free competing solutions? Well, I think you can put two and two together is because they want to collect rent on this, right? They want to be the rent seekers, and they don't want people to use solutions that are like Linux. Imagine if Bill Gates, when he tried to crush Linux, was successful. We wouldn't have a lot of the innovation that we have with startups and with SaaS technology, because we would have to pay a licensing fee to Microsoft. Likewise, if we dig into the details for a second on how Microsoft and Bill Gates tried to crush Linux, they were exposed via the Halloween documents leak. What the Halloween documents said was that they were spreading FUD, so fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And what this means is that they would create kind of a perception that there's something wrong with Linux, and why are you using Linux? And really, this idea here would, in their mind, make people not adopt it because they realized, and they said this in the internal docs, that Linux was superior. So the fact that Microsoft yet again is involved with this project, yet again Bill Gates is involved, and we see that there's all kinds of strange things happening with OpenAI. Why wouldn't they be following the same playbook? And that's what we're going to hear is China's bad, and these open source models are bad. Well, what do you mean bad? Look at Linux, look at Python, look at all the open source software. That's good. And so I think the main takeaway here is do whatever you can to promote open models in your company. If people talk about using closed solutions, point them to open solutions on your own. Get involved with these open models, contribute to the ecosystem, and together, a lot of people around the world can help spread these kinds of open solutions.